Hey guys, here's 21 Omni 121 here, and this is my first deck profile. It's going to be for my Chaos Hero deck, which you have been seeing over the last week or so. So let's just go straight in. So the standard elemental heroes, and I'm going to explain this quite in depth, so sorry if you're a pretty decent player or know the deck quite well or know the meta quite well, but I'm going to go through most of the cards in a decent amount of details. Hopefully this video won't be too long. Anyway, I should probably start. Elemental Hero Stratus, limited to 1 for a reason. It gives you a 3+1 pretty much under any circumstances if you get the summon successful. So when this card is normal special summoned, you can activate one of these effects. You can destroy up to spell trap cards, the number of hero monsters on you control, or add 1 elemental hero monster from your deck to your hand. Actually, it's any hero monster, but I only want elemental heroes. You could also add destiny heroes and evil heroes if you choose to. Most of the time, you're going to try and get Stratus to your hand as soon as possible through cards such as Emergency Call, which allows you to get elemental heroes straight from your deck to your hand, and Rota, which is any warrior, so it's a generic equal, for example. Unfortunately, equal is now limited to 2, and Rota was pretty much always limited to 1 because it's such a good card, it can be used in several decks. But anyway, back to Stratos, you're going to normally be searching for it first turn, and then summoning Stratos on your first turn. This baits out several cards such as Effect Veiler, which most decks currently run, though some are going for Maxi, but I'll explain that a bit later. Effect Veiler is when your opponent, during your opponent's main phase, so basically when they summon a monster or activate effect during their main phase, you can send this card from your hand to your graveyard to target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, negating that target until the end phase. So basically, it's known as a hand trap. This negates your Stratos' effect, preventing you from getting the elemental hero to your hand. And often, if you don't get your elemental hero alias to your hand too early on, a lot of your cards are dead, and I'll go into that later. But Stratos' first effect to destroy spell and trap cards is very conditional. In my last duel, you saw that my opponent used its effect quite effectively to get rid of my back row before he went for a direct attack for game. So as it's very conditional, but it's a nice effect to have in case you have a couple of elemental heroes, you summon Stratos, and then you destroy all of their back row if possible. Next card is Elemental Hero Alias. When this card is treated as a normal monster while face up on the field or in graveyard, and it has the standard effects of any Gemini monster, and Gemini monsters are when you can normal summon them, and then on another turn you can normal summon them once again, and then they become effect monsters. And then when this card becomes an effect monster, becomes Elemental Hero Neos. You're very rarely, if ever, going to use this effect because you don't have any of the Elemental Hero Neos cards in your graveyard. But it also means that it can't be Fiendish Chain. Fiendish Chain is a card, it's very much like Spellbinding Circle, but only works for effect monsters, but completely negates their effect. They can't Fiendish Chain Elemental Hero Alias because it's considered a normal monster when on the field or in a graveyard. Elemental Hero Alias works very well with Gemini Spark because it's a Gemini monster, and you can just read what Gemini Spark says. You contribute 1 face-up Gemini level 4 Gemini monster you control to target 1 card in the field, destroy it, and draw 1 card. This is essentially a game-changing card. It's a very, very good card. So you summon Alias, they can, for example, attempt to Bottomless it. Bottomless destroys any 1500 attack monster, but it doesn't negate the summon. So you can always chain your Gemini Spark. So your Alias goes to the graveyard because tributing is the cost, and then you destroy one of their cards. It's also used when you're in a difficult situation, don't have many cards left. It's a 2-card combo that gets rid of practically any card, and you get rid of the card, and you get to set up your graveyard, and you get to draw a card too, which is very, very nice. You're using 2 cards, you get to destroy 1 and then draw 1. So it's effectively a neutral bit. You can get rid of a powerful card your opponent controls. Just remember that even though Gemini Spark is a quick play spell, so it can be used on your opponent's turn. For example, when my opponent last duel activated what was it called? Forbidden Lance. Forbidden Lance prevents it from being affected. Gemini Spark must destroy the card you target, because if it doesn't destroy the card, then you don't get to draw. It's one continuous effect. It has to destroy it in order to draw, just in case. But you can also target a card that if it's already been activated. For example, if I summon Elemental Hero Alias, they activate Torrential Tribute, and that's the only card in the field, I can still chain Gemini Spark to tribute my Alias and destroy his Torrential Tribute, even though it's already previously activated in the same chain link, because that's just how chain links work. Next is Elemental Hero Bubble Man. This card is mainly used for Exceed summoning in standard Elemental Hero decks, but the only reason I have it in this deck because it's a water type and it's another option for Stratus to get, just in case all my heroes, all my other heroes such as Alias have disappeared. When I have no cards in my hand other than itself, I can special summon to the field. So most of the time in a standard hero deck, you set all your back row. They are very trap heavy deck, running Skill Drain and Torrential and Solemns and lots of cards like that. So they're very back row heavy decks. So they can special summon Bubble Man. So they can set 5, for example. Summon Stratus activates this effect, get Bubble Man to your hand, special summon the overlay for Excalibur or Utopia, and they're great monsters to summon. But the main reason I have it is because it allows for these quick XE summons if I am ever in need of them, and it also makes my Miracle Fusions a much more live, because Elemental Hero Absolute Zero is a phenomenal card. So I've already explained Gemini Sparks, but I haven't quite explained Hero Blast. Hero Blast only works for Alias. I only run one of it because it can get a bit cloggy if you don't have those Aliases in the graveyard, if they're removed from play or in your deck for whatever reason. So target one Elemental Hero normal monster. Remember that Alias is actually a normal monster in your graveyard, and you can destroy one card your opponent controls whose attack is equal to or less than that card's attack. So basically, it's a free destruction of any 1900 or lesser monster, which is great, and then you get to add Elemental Hero to your hand. Well, technically, you add the Elemental Hero first, so you could, even if your opponent has no monsters, you can still activate Hero Blast and get Alias to your hand, even if you can't target anything to destroy, because it's then your opponent controls target. You can then target, so you first add it, then you target. It's different to Gemini Spark, where they happen at the same time. I've already explained Emergency Call and Reinforcements. Not only do they allow you to search, but they also act as a deck thinner. So not only, basically you're running only 5 Elemental Heroes, but these 3 kind of boost it up to 8, but they also deck thin as well, so they're even more powerful in that sense. Unfortunately, sometimes you can go through all of these and not have any targets left, but then you just set them as bluffs. Miracle Fusion. The power card of an Elemental Hero deck. It's such a good card. If you don't know, banish one card from either your side of the field or graveyard. Normally it's going to be your graveyard, because that's just what you do. Because if you have it on the field, you want to establish that. Keep that field established. Only in certain circumstances will you activate Real Confusion with a monster on your field. But anyway, most of the time you can activate it in your graveyard, you banish them, and you can special summon one Elemental Fusion monster, then special summon that fusion monster from your extra deck, and it's considered a fusion summon. So, I'm going to go through the quick of these. Actually, no, I'll go through Super Poly first. So Miracle Fusion allows you to special summon from banishing monsters from your graveyard. Super Poly, on the other hand, is a quick play spell that cannot be negated, because spells, traps, and card effects cannot activate in response to this card's activation. So nothing can negate it, basically. You can't chain anything to Super Polymerization. And this card allows you to fuse with your opponent's monsters. Let's just go for the basic example. They summon a monster, you have Elemental Hero on the field, you activate Super Polymerization, you discard one card in your hand, that is the cost. So you discard one card in your hand, and then you fuse with their monster and your monster. And most of the Elemental Heroes that you run are going to be Elemental Hero monster, which is what you control, plus one light monster, or a fire monster, or wind, etc. Most of the attributes are available to you. So let's just go through the fusion monsters. Oh, well, I was going to say one thing. In a mirror match, if they have 2 Elemental Heroes, you can fusion summon them. So say, for example, they have 2 Elemental Hero aliases. You can Super Polymerization both of them and then summon a Shining. And that's a great card because it separates their plays. It makes a Gemini Sparks weak because you can't chain to it. So to Super Polymerization, and it's a great card in a mirror match. But here are the fusions. So you have Elemental Hero Esquargo because you have a lot of dark types, and it's good for Super Polymerization because most of the meta decks carry at least 1 or 2 darks, and it's a pretty nice card to go for. Gaia is just there because it's Earth type, and if you need to get rid of Earths, you can have them. Elemental Hero Great Tornado is also a nice card. It's good for Elemental Hero Stratos. If you have that in an Alias, for example, you don't have any Shinings left, it can halve your attack, which is halve your opponent's attack, which is nice, but your main card is going to be Shining. But let's just go through Nova Master. Mainly it's for wind-up Zen mains, which can't be destroyed, but it doesn't say it can't be fused with, so it can't prevent the fusion summon of it. So basically, they have a Zen mains, you summon Elemental Hero, you activate Super Polymerization, discard the card in your hand, and then go for Nova Master, which is a great card, because when it destroys opponent's monsters by battle, you just get to draw a card. It doesn't even matter where it goes, it doesn't need to be sent to the grave, so if it's a token, most cards, when they destroy, they have to be sent to the grave for the effects to be activated. However, for Nova Master, that's not the case. Now for the main card, Shining. This is the card you're most likely going to go for. This card gains 300 attack for each of your banished elemental hero monsters. So most of the time you're going to have 2 aliases to special summon this card. So you'll already have 2 in the banished pile, making your attack 3,200, which is pretty hefty to get over. And when it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to add 2 of the banished monsters from 2 elemental hero banished monsters from the banished pile to your hand. So for example, you had 2 aliases banished, you get them added to your hand, which makes your Gemini Sparks alive and your Hero Blast alive once again. Then your secondary, which is I really like, but unfortunately I don't carry that many waters, is Elemental Hero Absolute Zero. It's a water plus Elemental Hero, gains 500 attack for every non-water else on the field, which is very unlikely going to have any, but that's a possibility. But it's a main effect when this card leaves the field, so it doesn't even need to be destroyed. When anything happens to it to leave the field, apart from negating its summon, because then it technically didn't hit the field in the first place, but when this card leaves the field, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. It's basically a Mirror Force on steroids in that sense. And they're the general fusion monsters you're going to go through. So now to the Chaos side of the deck. Effect Failure, as I've explained before, is a great card. It breaks up lots of plays on your opponent's turn. They try and activate something, and it just makes dead cards on your opponent's field, allowing you to attack into them and do lots of other things. Tour Guide, an amazing card. When this card is normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 3 Fiend monster from your hand or deck. So mainly it's going to be for your deck. They can't be used for a Synchro summon, but you don't carry any Synchro monster. You do carry Tuner. Effect Failure is actually a Tuner monster, level 1 Tuner, which is quite nice, but I can't effectively use it in my deck, and my extra deck is already too clogged in order to use any of these Synchro monsters too efficiently. I'd have to run too many, and then my fusions and exceeds wouldn't be that viable. But Tour Guide's main thing is to set up your grave with lots of dark types, go for a Sangan play, and then Tour Bus, I will go through its play later, but the main 3 cards you'll go for if you do ever exceed summon is Leviathan Dragon, which is basically a 2500 beta, but it's also a water type, which is really nice. You could also go for Acid Golem if you choose to, which is also a level 3 exceed. For some reason the connection has gone. But, yeah, it's also level 3 exceed, but you take 2000 damage every turn and you can't special summon, which is unfortunate. So that's why I like to run Leviathan Dragon, since I special summon quite a bit, and most of the time they can just defense block your Acid Golem and you'll take 2000, so they just need to stop for a couple turns and you'll lose. So this is why I like Leviathan Dragon. It allows you to detach early on, it allows you to get your water into your grave. Zen mains, as I've explained before, it can't be destroyed twice, and it gets to destroy opponent's card during the end phase that they try to destroy it. Now I'm going to go through the main play of what I run. So you summon Tour Guide from the Underworld. You special summon Tour Bus from the Underworld from Tour Guide's effect. You overlay for Leviathan Dragon. Leviathan Dragon's effect, detach 1, and you can target 1 level 4 banish from either banished pile and special summon that as your side of the field. So for example, you activate Miracle Fusion. You send Stratos and Alias from your graveyard, remove from play, summon Shining. You summon Tour Guide, activates effect, get Tour Bus, overlay for Leviathan Dragon. Detach from the Leviathan Dragon, special summon Elemental Hero Stratos. Stratos' effect activates, you get to add an Elemental Alias from your deck to your hand. Then, when the Leviathan Dragon and Stratos are destroyed, hopefully your Stratos will be destroyed first, for example. Say your Stratos is now sent to your graveyard. When Tour Bus from the Underworld gets sent to your graveyard, you get to add Elemental Hero Stratos back to your deck, and then it's shuffled. But then you also carry Elemental Hero Equal and Reinforcements of the Army, which allows them to put back to your hand. So you go really plus with these couple of cards. It's just a couple of niche things that you can do with this Chaos build. Let's go on to the Chaos monsters. The original Chaos monster, Chaos Sorcerer. It can't be normal summon effect, must be special summoned by removing from play 1 light and 1 dark from your graveyard. So you carry lots of light monsters, your 3 aliases, your effect failures, your Cyber Dragons and Honest, and in fact BLS is a dark, light monster, and you carry a decent amount of darks too. So that's what it's there for, and it's basically banish 1 card on the field, or banish 1 face-up monster on the field, which is a pretty nice effect. Now Black Soldier is basically its big brother. It's same summoning conditions, but you could target any monster. It doesn't have to be face up. I know it says target that face up, but if that makes sense, it means that when it's sent to the banish pile, it has to be face up. It can't be face down like other cards do, but that's not really relevant. So you can banish any monster field, or you could choose, but you don't get to attack on the turn you banish, or you could choose to attack twice that turn, which is phenomenal. That's possibly 6,000 damage if they have a monster with 0 attack, but you have to destroy a monster and then attack. You just don't get 2 direct attacks. You have to destroy 1 monster and then attack after. Now for the next Dark monster, the next kind of Chaos monster is Gauze. I'm sure you know what it is. It's 2700 attack, 2500 defense. When you have no cards in the field and you take a direct attack, you can special summon it to field and then summon a token with equal attack to the amount of damage you took. It's a great +1 and it's a great big monster. Dark Arm Dragon, 2800 attack, 3 darks in your graveyard. Very easy when you have Tour Guide and Sangans. And you can also discard it, for example, with Super Poly if it's ever dead, which is really like about this. Super Poly allows you to get rid of the dead cards that aren't really effective, or you don't have the graveyard set up at the time. And its effect is you special summon it when you have exactly 3, and you can banish darks from your graveyard to destroy equal number of cards on the field, which is a great effect. Dark Hole, I'm sure you know what it does. Monster Reborn, Heavy Storm are the 3 power cards. I run 2 MSTs because most of the time I'm not going to... Back row is irritating, but I just couldn't find space for the 3rd MST. The 3rd MST is side deck. 2 Torrential Tributes, my only 2 traps. I'm not going to run Mirror Force because most of the time they get rid of it before they attack. Sometimes Mirror Force is preferred, but I also run 2 D Prisoners, which is basically a Mirror Force but removes it from play, but only affects 1 monster. But most of the time, your Torrential is going to be effective. It's when you're in that situation where you don't have many monsters on the field, which can be a problem sometimes in Chaos Hero. You don't run too many... Well, you do run a decent amount of monsters, but most of the time, they're not always summonable. And then, for the kind of miss cards, you could also add Photon Thrasher as a... Photon Thrasher, which is a pretty nice card as well, if I can find it. Here, it's very much like Cyber Dragon. It can only be special summoned. Well, Cyber Dragon can only be special summoned when your opponent controls a monster, and you can special summon it when you control no monsters. Thrasher can be special summoned when you control no monsters, period. However, you can't attack when you control another monster, so it's whichever medicine you want. Will you trust him to have a monster, or would you trust yourself not to attack? It's one or the other. But the thing that Photon Thrasher might have over Cyber Dragon is that it's a level 4, so it allows you to go for level 4 exceeds or rank 4 exceeds. But I like Cyber Dragon because of the general machines that exist, and if you don't know, Cyber Dragon is a great counter to machine decks. Because of this card. This is Cyber Dragon plus 1 or more machine time monsters. And can be fusion summoned by sending cards from any side of the field who are machine type. So, say they have a monster, they have 5 machines on their field. You special summon Cyber Dragon, then you contact fuse between all of them, and then you get this card. And this card's attack is equal to the number of cards you use to fusion summon with it. So, Cyber Dragon, you contact fusion with another machine type on their field, and you get to special summon this. And this is also dark type, so it also does set up your grave. It's basically a quick out to Zenmain since it doesn't destroy it, it just fuses with it, and it gets around some machine deck problems. That's why I prefer it over Thrasher, though you could play Thrasher too. Honest is a great card. I run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights that I'm going to actually summon, so it might not be always live, but when it is live, it's an amazing card. During your main phase, you can return it to your hand, but its main effect is that when your opponent attacks, or you attack into your opponent's monster, you can discard it, and you gain attack equal to your opponent's monsters. The thing with this card is that it's very, very difficult to negate. It activates in step 5 of damage step, which only very, very few cards can negate. And most people don't carry these cards that can negate Honest. So, it's a great card, and I'm sure you'll learn how to use it if you don't know already. Pot of Duality is just for consistency purposes. Sometimes you don't have the cards that you need. And if you don't know what Pot of Duality does, it's reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 of them to your hand, and then shuffle the rest. So it's basically you get a peek in, it's a deck thinner, but you don't get to special summon that turn. Which is a bad thing, I guess, but it makes the card balanced, and it allows you to dig through your deck and get through your combo pieces a lot more easily. DD Crow is just there because it's basically like a Veiler. It allows you to set up your graveyard, and DD Crow is really good against some of the new meta decks. It's good against Dark Lords. It removes their Grapple from play, so they can't special summon it. And against other decks, it's just good. It works against Monster Reborn, so you target their own monster. You in their graveyard, you banish DD Crow, and it basically negates Monster Reborn, because Monster Reborn has to target. They can't choose a target once you've already chained the DD Crow to the target that they chose previously. It also allows you to set up your grave for Dark Arm players, or if you need that extra Dark for any of the Chaos monsters that you run. And then Tragodia is just the add-on. It's a very nice card. I'm thinking of getting rid of it because often you don't have many cards in your hand, but if you want to read Tragodia, when you take bash damage, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you gain 600 attack and defense for every card in your hand. So it's a great card. It's basically a free summon because you're going to take battle damage. You're bound to take battle damage, basically, and it's got nice attack. When you have 5 cards, you have 3,000 attack. Its second effect is also nice. It can copy the level of any monster in your graveyard, and then you can discard the card and then take control of opponent's monsters equal to the level of that card you discarded. So it's basically used for Exceed summoning if you need to. I'm going to go through these Exceeds now. So I've already gone through the 3 level 3s. The level 4s, I've got Heroic Champion Excalibur. It's 2 level 4 warrior monsters, which you have plenty of, and you can attach it. And it gains, when it's summoned, you can attach 2, and it gains 2,000 more attack, or becomes 4,000 attack, which is an amazing 4,000 beta, phenomenal. Utopia, the standard level 4, any 2 level 4, so it doesn't need to be warrior type. When your opponent tries to attack it, you can attach it and negate the attack. So standard, it's a light target, it's a standard rank 4. Then you have your Blade Arbor Ninja. When you don't go for Excalibur, you go for Blade Arbor Ninja. 2 level 4 warrior types, you can attach it and it can attack twice. So it's basically 4,400 damage if you need to, or need to get over 2 smaller monsters. It's a nice card. Then for Maestro Jijin, which is the card that I prefer to go to if I'm in a pickle. It's 2 level 4 monsters. Once per turn, you can attach 1 XYZ material to target 1 face-up Patronus controls, and change it to defense mode. Sorry if that was a bit non-thing. I'm trying to speak quickly since it's already a 20-minute video. So you can, it's basically like a Book of Moon. It sends the card to face down defense position, getting rid of the problem if they have a difficult effect you can't handle, and you can attack over it, because most powerful attack monsters don't have the greatest defense. Its second effect is also really nice. You can attach 1 to prevent its destruction. So it's basically can survive a couple of hits, and it can also has an attacking purpose too. So it's kind of multi-utility card. So quickly, let's just go through the side deck. Royal Decree, because you hate the final countdown matchup, which is basically a try and final countdown to try and stall you out as much as possible, but they run a lot of traps, so Royal Decree gets rid of them. Also, you don't run many traps, so your traps aren't going to be dead. Super Poly, just in case you need that extra Super Poly for the mirror matchup, etc. Effective Veiler, just because you need more light. Solemn Judgment, because it's Solemn Judgment. I would put it in, but I think 40 card deck for this specific deck is pretty nice. 2 more DD Crows, just in case it's a heavy deck that uses their graveyard quite a bit. You can disrupt their plays by discarding DD Crow, and it also allows you to get more darks in the graveyard if you need so. Then for the Dark World matchup, you have your DD Crows, and then you have your Dimensional Prisoners, which banishes their monster. It also prevents Shining from getting its effect in the mirror match, because it has to be sent to the graveyard, and unfortunately I lost connection. But you understand what I'm saying. It's a pretty good deck, and I like to play with it. It can be tweaked a bit to make it more efficient, but I think this is the best efficiency for my sort of playing style. I like to drop a lot of big monsters in the field, and I can drop those big monsters in the field very, very efficiently. So I hope you enjoyed this deck profile, and you can go over the duels I had with it, and I'll probably do a couple more duels in the future. So, yeah, quite a long video, 21 on me on 21, signing out.